But if you go by the evidence, there is no evidence that the system was breached or hacked successfully. I think that what's important here is follow the evidence, and there is no evidence. And that can't be said about a lot of other systems, including government systems.
Welcome back to Morning Joe. There's no clear evidence that Hillary Clinton's private email server was hacked, but we now know that her team was concerned about the possibility of it happening. Joining us now, Politico's senior White House correspondent Josh Gerstein. His new reporting reads in part this: aides to Hillary Clinton worried about the potential impact on her private email system after a hacker gained access to the email account of one of her longtime advisors in early 2013. According to testimony made public Wednesday in connection with a pending lawsuit. Former Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills acknowledged when emails from Clinton ally Sidney Blumenthal began appearing online via a Romanian hacker called Guccifer. Mills discussed the issue with Brian Pagliano, a tech specialist who worked both at the State Department and for the Clintons. And Josh joins us now from Capitol Hill. Also with us at the table, MTV News senior political correspondent Ana Marie Cox. Good to have you back on the show. So, Josh, Mr. Pagliano is the young man who actually got immunity, or isn't he sort of at this point someone where we can't get any more information from?
That's right. He hasn't been speaking publicly. He claimed immunity on Capitol Hill, took the Fifth Amendment. He initially took the Fifth Amendment with the FBI, too, but he eventually spoke to them through that immunity deal. And he's the one who we believe was sort of the prime player in handling a lot of security issues for Clinton's server and in setting it up, at least in several of its iterations. So
what do you conclude here in this reporting? I mean, that if the aides were concerned, what?
Well, I conclude that they were worried about some of the security issues surrounding her server. Now, it's worth noting that if you think about March 2013, Hillary Clinton was no longer Secretary of State. So it kind of all goes back to this original sin, if you will, of having put the information on this private server. She wasn't Secretary of State. Cheryl Mills wasn't working at the State Department anymore at that point. So the concern really was whether somebody might possibly breach her server. And we know they took at least one significant step when that Guccifer hack came out, which was that they changed Hillary Clinton's secret email address because it was being broadcast to the world at that point.
I've always had, Ana Marie Cox, serious questions about this, but when you hear and read about it, how do you think it translates to voters and to the public?
You know, I mean, well, for one thing, I just want to say, like, the idea that they were concerned isn't concerning to me, because they should have been concerned. It would be weirder if we had read that they took no steps whatsoever and that they were just going on their happy-go-lucky way. I do think that what Josh says about the original sin is what concerns me the most about the situation, and what speaks to her general reputation, which is this insularity and paranoia that leads to the Clinton team sort of taking steps that make them look more insular and paranoid, which makes them look that gives the appearance of corruption often, even if there isn't. And I think, you know, she has this history. The more that comes out about this, the harder it is for her to untangle herself from this appearance, you know, of wrongdoing. I wish this was the biggest scandal in the campaign right now. I wish this was the thing that we could spend all of our time talking about. I do think there are more significant concerns.
Exactly. So, I mean, what you do is you back up and you look at the big picture, and you look at the fact that she was First Lady. She served in the Senate. She served as Secretary of State. She has been working in politics and serving for her entire lifetime. And if you pull video and articles about her and things that she's written from 20 to 30 years ago, it's the same thing she's saying now. There's a consistency to her. She knows how to govern at least.
She understands what the government does.
She understands what the government
the office
does.
of president. I've been saying Donald Trump shouldn't be getting security briefings. He should be getting sort of like 101 lessons and like how a bill becomes a law.
Josh, it's Donnie. I've kind of gone on the premise that this is more of the same. That to the average voter, it's baked in at this point. Okay, Hillary, there's something funky with emails, and it's all the foundation, and it's all blurry. That unless there is this really explicit, okay, Hillary Clinton, because of favors, affected her role as Secretary of State in her judgment in some political national affairs issue. Other than that, isn't this just more of the same?
I think you're basically right, Donnie. I think the people who are so concerned about this that they wouldn't vote for her are already off the bandwagon. I doubt we're going to see anything terribly explicit. And some of the stuff that's coming up now seems like the kind of favors that politicians do, rightly or wrongly, for donors to their campaigns all the time. What's a little odd about the Clinton situation is it seems sometimes they're doing favors for people that were donors to the Clinton Foundation. That's another flavor of this, but even that's not extraordinary. We've seen lawmakers up on Capitol Hill behind me have charities they're affiliated with, and sometimes encourage people to make donations to those charities for reasons that might not seem totally clean or legitimate. So I agree that I think the people that are most worried about this probably left the Clinton bandwagon a long time ago, if they were ever on it to start with.
Josh, you write in the piece about the concerns aides raised about the private server and its vulnerability after she left the State Department.
Right.
Was there not anyone in her orbit, or perhaps her own instincts, that said while she was setting up this server or while she was Secretary of State that this was probably a bad idea?
There were a couple times we see in some of the email traffic there were concerns when her system would go down about why it was set up this way. At one point, one of her aides took it offline completely because they thought there might be an attempt to hack it. And, you know, the FBI director, Jim Comey, has said he thought it would have been more secure for Clinton to be using a Gmail account because there you have a company and a lot of employees that are working 24/7 on keeping their systems secure. Here you had a server sitting at the Clintons' home where when there was even a hurricane, it would go offline, and it didn't work very well. So there's no question more flags should have been raised about the way this was set up from a security point of view. But as Clinton pointed out in that clip just a moment ago, we know for a fact that the official State Department email system was repeatedly hacked by the Russians, the same people that folks think are responsible for this current set of DNC and Democratic hacks. So it's hard to say what would have been better here.
Really interesting piece. Josh Gerstein, thank you. We'll be reading that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.